Most people believe stress comes from having too much to do. But if that were true, then why do some of the busiest people feel calm, while others feel overwhelmed even on slow days? This question is uncomfortable because it hints at something deeper, something most people would rather avoid. What if stress isn't caused by how much you do, but by a simple rule you keep breaking every day without realizing it? Here's the quiet truth most people ignore. Your life cannot be simple if everything feels important. The moment everything matters, nothing rests. And when nothing rests, neither do you. This is the simple living rule that almost everyone overlooks. You must consciously decide what does not matter. Not later, not someday, now. Without this decision, stress becomes permanent because your mind is constantly on alert, treating every task, message, responsibility, and expectation as urgent and essential. Your nervous system never powers down. You may sit still, but internally, you're sprinting. Most people don't ignore this rule because they're careless. They ignore it because they've been conditioned to. From an early age, importance is assigned externally. Grades matter. Performance matters. Approval matters. Productivity matters. Eventually, everything starts to feel like it matters because your worth feels tied to keeping all the plates spinning. Letting one fall feels dangerous, even if it's unnecessary. Pause and notice how often stress shows up not because something is truly critical, but because you're afraid of the consequences of not doing it. Disappointment, judgment, falling behind, missing out, looking irresponsible. These fears quietly inflate the importance of things that don't actually deserve your energy. Over time, your life becomes crowded with false urgency. The simple living rule asks a radical question. If nothing terrible happens when you let this go, why are you holding it so tightly? This is where curiosity begins to work in your favor. Start watching your stress closely, not the dramatic kind, but the low-grade, constant tension that hums in the background. Ask yourself what it's protecting you from. Often, it's protecting an identity, the reliable one, the productive one, the available one, the one who never drops the ball. But identities are heavy. They demand constant upkeep. Here's the part most people miss. Simplicity is not about having fewer things to do. It's about having fewer things that demand emotional weight. You can have a full life and still feel light if you've decided what truly matters. Stress comes from carrying importance without intention. Think about how your mind reacts when you receive a message, a calendar invite, a notification, even a thought. There's an immediate internal question. Do I need to deal with this now? If your default answer is always yes, stress becomes your baseline. Simple living teaches a different reflex. It teaches you to pause and ask, does this deserve my attention right now? And just as importantly, does this deserve my concern at all? Most people never ask the second question. They assume that if something exists, it deserves space in their mind. That assumption is exhausting. There's a strange comfort in treating everything as important. It gives you the illusion of control. If you stay on top of everything, maybe nothing will go wrong. But life doesn't work that way. Things go wrong whether you obsess over them or not. The difference is how much peace you sacrifice in the meantime. This simple living rule isn't about becoming careless. It's about becoming selective. Selectivity is what turns chaos into calm. Without it, your energy is scattered across too many directions, never settling long enough to nourish you. Notice how often your day is shaped by reacting rather than choosing. You respond to demands as they appear, rarely questioning their value. This creates a life that feels busy but strangely hollow. You're always doing, yet rarely feeling done. Stress thrives in this loop because there's no natural stopping point. Simple living introduces a powerful boundary. Not everything gets a response. Not everything gets attention. Not everything gets emotional investment. This boundary alone can dramatically lower stress, but it requires something most people struggle with: discomfort. Letting something not matter feels wrong at first. You might feel guilty, lazy, neglectful, anxious. These feelings are not signs that you're doing something wrong. They're withdrawal symptoms from a life of overimportance. Your system is used to constant stimulation and vigilance. When that vigilance relaxes, it doesn't immediately feel peaceful. It feels unfamiliar. This is where most people give up. They mistake unfamiliar calm for danger and rush back into busyness. They refill their schedule. They reattach importance to things they almost let go of. Stress returns, but it feels normal, so it's accepted. But if you stay with that discomfort, something shifts. You start to realize that the world doesn't collapse when you don't overextend yourself. People adapt, expectations adjust, and the ones that don't were often unsustainable to begin with. Another layer of this rule reveals itself when you look at how people plan their lives. Many fill their future with obligations without leaving space for uncertainty, rest, or joy. Every hour is accounted for. Every goal is scheduled. This feels responsible, but it's a hidden source of stress. When there's no margin, any disruption feels like a crisis. Simple living insists on margin. Margin in time, margin in energy, margin in expectations. This means intentionally leaving parts of your life undefined. Empty space isn't wasted space. It's breathing room. It's where recovery happens. It's where happiness sneaks in when you're not chasing it. The reason most people ignore this rule is because importance feels productive. Saying yes feels useful. Being needed feels validating. Stress often masquerades as purpose. Without it, some people fear they'll feel irrelevant. But relevance built on exhaustion is fragile. It collapses the moment you slow down. Here's something quietly freeing. Your value does not increase by treating everything as urgent. In fact, the opposite is often true. When you're selective, your attention becomes more meaningful. Your presence deepens. Your yes carries weight because it's no longer automatic. Simple living also changes how you relate to problems. When everything matters, every problem feels personal and overwhelming. When you choose what matters, many problems downgrade themselves. They become manageable or even irrelevant. This doesn't make you indifferent, it makes you resilient. Stress feeds on mental clutter, unfinished tasks, open loops, unspoken expectations. When you decide what doesn't matter, many of these loops close on their own. You stop rehearsing conversations that may never happen. You stop worrying about outcomes you can't control. You stop carrying responsibilities that were never yours. There's a deep calm that comes from realizing you don't have to have an opinion on everything. You don't have to stay informed on everything. You don't have to engage with every issue, trend, or demand. Your peace depends on restraint more than effort. Simple living asks you to treat your attention as sacred because once it's spent, it doesn't come back. Stress is often the result of spending attention carelessly, then wondering why you feel depleted. Another curiosity worth exploring is how often stress is self-generated. Not because you enjoy it, but because you haven't decided what's enough. Without a definition of enough, you're always behind. There's always more to do, improve, fix, or prepare for. Simple living introduces the radical idea that enough exists and that you're allowed to stop there. This doesn't mean you stop growing. It means growth becomes intentional instead of compulsive. You pursue what aligns with you, not what pressures you. Stress decreases because your actions come from choice, not fear. Pay attention to how your body responds when you imagine letting something go. If the relief outweighs the anxiety, that's information. Your body often knows what your mind is too conditioned to admit. The simple living rule most people ignore isn't complicated. It's just uncomfortable in a culture that equates importance with worth. But once you begin practicing it, life starts to feel less like a test you're constantly failing and more like a place you're allowed to inhabit. Over time, stress loses its grip not because life becomes easy, but because you stop giving everything the power to disturb you. You become quieter inside, slower in a good way, more present. You begin to notice that happiness doesn't require everything to go right. It just requires you to stop treating everything as if it might go wrong. If you're still here, it's likely because some part of you is ready to experiment. Not with doing more, but with caring less about what drains you. Not with fixing yourself, but with unburdening yourself. Try this gently. Today, choose one thing to mentally downgrade. One thing that no longer gets center stage in your mind. Notice what happens. Stress may protest at first, but peace is patient. It waits for you to make space. Because the truth is simple, even if it's rarely practiced. A simple, happy life isn't built by adding more control. It's built by deciding what no longer deserves it. Here's the truth most people never hear. Life doesn't become peaceful when you add more. It becomes peaceful when you remove what doesn't matter. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to chase everything. You just need to choose what's essential and let the rest go. Start living simply, and you'll be surprised how light life feels. If this video helped you, subscribe for more reminders like this. Slow down, simplify, and live a life that actually feels good.